So hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to the Salesforce webinar of Reco.ai. And my name is Gal. I'm the co-founder and CPO of Reco, and I'm happy to host here Andrea Bailiff, head of product marketing at Reco.ai. And today we are going to talk about securing the wild west of the modern enterprise, which is Salesforce. So a short background about Reco. Reco is a SaaS data-centric SaaS security platform based on AI-powered interactions graph that can help to secure the distributed SaaS applications. Reco automatically maps and classify every user activity, permission, and data access within SaaS applications. This provides complete visibility, control, and automated workflow to protect applications, data, and identities across various platforms, including Microsoft 365, Slack, G Suite, GitHub, and of course, Salesforce.
Great, thank you. Salesforce really is the operating system or OS of business. And the reason why we're focusing on Salesforce and we're talking about SaaS applications and SaaS security, Salesforce is very business critical and most organizations utilize it. And so it's just a great example for us to use today to describe the power of SaaS security. So again, Salesforce is the OS of business. It's one platform for all, and it really is used by enterprises to unite departments. You could be on the marketing team, the sales team, the customer success team, the IT team, and you're probably all using Salesforce. And the reason why is it really offers this 360 degree of your customers. Another reason why Salesforce is so powerful and so utilized by enterprises is that it integrates easily into various platforms. And the way that it does this is it's very flexible API. Finally, it's a way for businesses to house all of their business critical data in one place. It makes it easier for organizations to understand and support customers. And when thinking about Salesforce and how critical it is for businesses, it's really important to mention the shared responsibility model for SaaS. So what the shared responsibility model is, it's industry best practice that calls for the responsibility of securing a SaaS application like Salesforce is shared, and each person or stakeholder who's involved needs to understand their level of responsibility. So one part to mention is the cloud, what the cloud is responsible for. So that is a tool that an organization may already have in place, and the areas that it's really looking at are the applications, the guest operating system, virtualization, network, infrastructure, and physical. And when we think about Salesforce, their primary responsibility is just to keep its global infrastructure up and running. And you can see that this leaves a gap, right? So there's areas where the customer is responsible, and that's user access and identity, the metadata, and data. So very, very important components. With SaaS adoption growing so quickly, it's really difficult for security teams to keep pace with the new risks and vulnerabilities that applications bring. And out-of-the-box security settings may not comply with organizational standards, and customization makes security more challenging. So you can imagine, as an organization, you may have no idea that you're responsible for securing your business critical data, your user access, et cetera. So how can you do this without having a dedicated tool? I found this really interesting report from KPMG that was published a couple of years ago. And in that report, and through their research, they found that 66% of all the organizations that they surveyed found the shared responsibility model for SaaS confusing. So that means these organizations are not fully securing the SaaS assets they're responsible for, putting their data at risk. Next slide, please. Yep, great, thank you. So just want to mention, when you think of risks, just some recent breaches from Salesforce. All SaaS applications have breaches, but these are just some of the more recent ones from Salesforce. In April of this year, a misconfiguration was found in the Salesforce community that caused PII data exposure across numerous organizations. So you can just imagine the level of panic and stress and anxiety that these organizations probably felt, knowing that their that PIA data was exposed. Next slide, please. Like any tool, Salesforce also has some blind spots that can pose a major hazard or risk to your organization. So just want to mention some of the security risks that occur in Salesforce or really any SaaS application leading to a breach. The first type are authorization vulnerabilities. So when you think of Salesforce as a multi-user environment, access control becomes a big consideration. When you think about security, when used correctly, each person can access only those functions and resources that are designated to them. But unfortunately, complex authorization schemas can leave applications exposed to threats. A second type are called insider threats. So when it comes to insider threats, any Salesforce user really could be one. However, it depends on the roles and the access levels they've been assigned, and therefore that dictates how they're able to extract information. Most companies today allow users to access Salesforce on personal devices. You can just imagine that can lead to more risks. Another type is increased data exposure. So in a number of ways, a user can access the data of Salesforce, and it is a necessity now more than ever to control those with the power to get your organizational data. And providing improper permissions to users can lead to overexposure of data, just making them more vulnerable to attacks. So if you're someone who doesn't update, for example, third-party applications very often, so you have no idea of those SaaS to SaaS connections, what's connected to your Salesforce, then that can just create a huge level of data exposure to new threats. And then there's also compliance violations and finally audit challenges as well to consider. Next slide, please. The way Salesforce is utilized in secured organizations can lead to a lack of control and visibility. So just want to mention a couple considerations. The first is the fact that Salesforce and many SaaS applications are diverse platforms. So not only do you have those internal teams using Salesforce, the marketing, customer success, IT, et cetera, but you may also have your partners who are outside of your organization utilizing the SaaS applications, as well as contractors and even customers. So you can just imagine how complex the authorization schema can be. The second is the fact that it is managed by a role called a Salesforce administrator, and they're focused on how the tool is utilized internally, and they're thinking less about securing the data. And then there's obviously the security team who needs to take responsibility for securing the SaaS application, but they really don't own and measure. They don't own the application. They're not measured by the performance like the SaaS administrator is. Lastly, there's limited access and distributed responsibilities. So security teams are unable to access Salesforce. Salesforce licenses are expensive, but then also the IT and GRC teams are responsible for user access, and they also may not have a license to Salesforce. Salesforce administrators remain responsible for the configuration. So just imagine if you're a team that needs to support a business critical application like Salesforce, and you may not have access to it. So a lot of things to consider that can contribute to a lack of control and visibility to Salesforce.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. And to secure Salesforce, we need to understand and secure three main elements. It's a users, data, and application. Users can create, edit, and modify data in Salesforce, and of course can add applications. The users and applications have access to the data, and it's all based on three entities in the Salesforce permission model. The one is the profiles, the second is the roles, and the third is the permissions. And the users and applications have this permission model to access into Salesforce and to that data. If we need to understand what does it mean. So profile serves as the foundation role. A profile determines what users can do within Salesforce by setting permissions for create, read, edit, and delete the create actions. And not only that, profile also dictate field level security, page layouts, and application accessibility. And you can think of profiles as blueprints for user capabilities. And you define profiles by functions, for example, the system administrators, the sales executive. And in addition to the CRED, specifically with profiles, you have a view all and modify all selected for all objects in Salesforce. And this is a famous breach with the guest users that has this profile that enables guest users to modify and read all the data in Salesforce. But not only profiles, roles also play a critical role indeed, and they establish a hierarchy that enhances data visibility, allowing users to view records based on their position in the organization. This hierarchy aligns with the org-wide default setting. And it's important to remember that the most restrictive setting is the starting point. From there, access can be expanded as needed. And last one is the extension, which is the permission sets, are like personalized keys that unlock specific capabilities beyond profile. For example, to bypass an MFA, if a user is required to log in to Salesforce without an MFA or impossible to log in with, you can add a permission set that enables a user to log in without MFA to Salesforce. Basically, it allows you to extend privilege such as object access, field level security to specific users. This flexibility enables customization without the need for a whole new profile. And it's all about tailoring. So to conclude it, profiles, roles, and permission sets form a harmonious trio. Think of profile as a circle that categorizes users by function, roles as an hierarchical structure that defines relationship, and permission set as a precision tools to enhance access. Together, they create a robust system that strikes the right balance between user empowerment and data security, but you need to get the visibility into the profile, permission, and roles of each user in Salesforce. And first and foremost, we want to get the access to Salesforce to limit the access into our Salesforce, the business critical platform. And to protect access, we need to operating on this privileged data access model. There are some instances in which you want the Salesforce user to have access to all data by leveraging view all data or even modify all data. But when data model is too open or the rules are too vague, you run much higher risk of a user accidentally corrupting or even deleting data. And for that, you need to have a list of other provision end users, users with too many permission, which are not fit to the least privileged data access model. Second, you need to understand the most sensitive permission Salesforce. This privilege, for example, a sales team working on opportunities should not have access to update support cases and vice versa. And last one is the highly privileged ghost administrators. Most of Salesforce platforms implemented by a vendor or contractor, and some of them are inactive and are not working with the enterprise anymore and still accessible as an admin to the Salesforce tenant. And of course, we want to limit the access to Salesforce to protect our data. It's all about the data. And to protect data, we need first of all to understand what data are users able to view and export. What data is stored in Salesforce, for example. If we also store the attachments of emails and PII of users' information. And once we know what data is stored, we need to understand what data is publicly accessible. The internet can grab a link and access to the data in Salesforce. And to do it, we need to continuously monitor user activity. And there are several ways to monitor Salesforce user behavior. The primary one being to analyze the event logs. But unfortunately, these logs can be difficult if it's not impossible to analyze without a proprietary system. The third one, as we talked, is the applications, and users can integrate applications into Salesforce, and the application can access and modify and view data in Salesforce and protect third-party applications. The SaaS world is a quest, and there are pivotal questions we must address. First, we need to ask, do you know which application are currently connected to Salesforce tenant? It's a fundamental step toward comprehending the scope of potential risk and vulnerabilities. Next, consider who are the users permitted to connect third-party applications to Salesforce. Users' permission play a vital role in ensuring that only trusted individuals can access and integrate this application. And for example, if an offboarded users integrate an application and this application is still active, it means the user offboarded, but the third-party application still reads the data from Salesforce. So we need also to make sure that there are not inactive applications and that are not longer in use, and can they be safely removed. To safely remove applications, we need to have an event logs and access log, and this can provide by Salesforce Shield, and Salesforce Shield enable us. Salesforce Shield built on three main offering. One is the encryption, and the second one is the event monitoring that enable us to get all the logs and behavior for behavior analytics. But it's not perfect. Salesforce event monitoring tool allow activity monitoring, but there is a fundamental limitation in the time of logs. The default is a 1 day, and there is an option to pay for 30 days of history, but still it's hard to monitor for abnormal trends with only 30 days of event. So to be able to do it, you need to make sure you push the logs into a system and run analysis based on it. And the last offering in Salesforce Field is the field audit trail. And audit trail allow to specify a policy to retain archived history of data. This is basically for compliance, and you can do it by leveraging the Salesforce metadata API.
Great. So Salesforce Shield is a very powerful security tool, but when considering that shared responsibility model, there's still some responsibility that the customer has to secure the data and the user identities. And that's why having a dedicated SaaS security solution is so important. So when you're thinking about securing your Salesforce or other business critical SaaS applications, there are some things to really think about when you're putting together your security program. And a lot of these considerations are around how users within your organization, outside your organization, have access to data. What is their level of permission? So the first question you can ask yourself and your team is, who has access to what? Which teams internally, which teams outside of your organization, and then to your customers. The next question is, okay, once you know the who, which of these users have which permission level to Salesforce data? Are they admins? Are they editors? Can they modify content? Are they view or read only? The next consideration is, once you know their permission level, which of these users are able to view versus export data? Because you can imagine exporting data is a very common way that data is leaked and then exposed. Then which data is publicly accessible, meaning you don't even have to have a Salesforce license. You just maybe have to have a link to a Salesforce dashboard or report. And then finally, what applications are connected to your Salesforce tenant? So thinking about those third-party applications or SaaS to SaaS connections. And if you aren't aware, how can you figure out what those SaaS to SaaS connections are to your Salesforce tenant? And then how was each of those connections established? And in summary, Reco.ai is a SaaS security solution, and our role is to empower security teams to spot potential SaaS threats instantly, and we use this through the power of AI. And we want to thank you so much for spending some time with us today and learning about how to secure the wild west of the modern enterprise like Salesforce. If you'd like more information on Reco.ai, you can visit us at Reco.ai to learn more. Thanks so much.
Thank you.